Hey everyone, hope you all are well. To kick off today's look, we're using the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion. I'm just adding a few swipes of this across the eye area, and then I'm using a fluffy brush just to blend that primer into the skin around the eyes, and I'm buffing it in and covering anywhere that I'll be adding shadow, just to help ensure the shadows last all day long and make sure they look their best too. So today I'm taking the Metal Mania palette from Urban Decay. It's a new limited edition 12 pan palette that contains 12 fairly neutral shadows, bar the injection of colour coming from the purple, yellow and silver, and these shadows include a mix of mattes and shimmers. So the first shadow I'm taking is called Sound Tower. It's a nice warm toned medium matte brown, and I've picked this up on a Coastal Scents BR250 blending brush. And when I dipped the brush into the pan, the shadow did crumble and I panicked thinking we aren't off to a great start, but I tapped off the excess and got to work on the eye, and I don't have an issue with fallout, thank God. I love this shadow. I think it's a great transition shade. The colour is nice and vibrant upon that first application, and I'm having no issues with blending out the shadow either. So I've just gotten a nice layer of this in the crease firstly. I've used circular motions and windshield wiper motions to buff and blend the shadow out in the crease, and then I have started to wing it out towards the tail of the brow too. So I've just taken up a second helping of this shadow on my brush, and I started this time by tapping down on the outer third of the eyelid, and then I'm basically swinging the brush up into the crease, and I'm basically just reapplying this shade to boost the intensity of the shadow that little bit further. Once I'm happy with how that looks, I'm switching to a slightly smaller brush and I'm picking up some of the shade Road Crew. In comparison, this is a much deeper brown, and I'd nearly say it's got a satin finish to it. It's definitely not entirely matte. So I'm using this to add some depth, and when I do that, I generally keep the shade to the outer edge of the eye. So I'm tapping this down in a sort of C shape on that outer edge of the eye, focusing on laying the colour down where I want it first, and then I'm going to diffuse the edges. So I'm lightly buffing this towards the centre of the eyelid, and then I'm also pulling it up into and lightly across the crease as well. I'm not pulling the shadow up too high because I want that previous shade to peek nicely over the top of it. I decided to go with a nice neutral look with this palette initially, so the focus really is on those final three shades in the palette, and the next one I'm taking is called Heavy. So this definitely isn't a jet black shadow, it's got a nice sheen to it as well. So as far as blacks go, it is an easier one to work with due to its consistency. So I'm taking a fairly large C-shaped brush and I'm using this just to lay down the colour, and I am patting the shadow down at the lash line on the outer edge of the eye and pulling it up to the crease at an angle using the tail of the brow as a guide. I've switched back now to that smaller blending brush from Sedona Lace, the one I used for the darker brown, and I'm running this over the edge of the black, so I'm starting on the edge, working my way inwards, wriggling the brush over and back and doing my best just to fade this towards the centre of the lid, and then I'll start feathering that black a little deeper into the crease and up and out in the direction of the end of the brow on the outer edge. So my favourite shadow so far in the palette is called Scene. I just think it spices up even the most bland of looks. It's a nice cool toned metallic taupe shade, and I know I'm going to get so much use out of this shadow, whether it's on its own or layering it over the top of another shade. But for now I'm using this just with a little bit of setting spray, and I'm patting it down on the inner half of the eyelid. Once I've tapped that down, I'm going back in with that small blending brush once again. I'm feathering over the edges of that black, buffing it towards the centre of the eye, just to make sure that it blends nicely now with the other lid shades that I've just applied. So what I do to the top, I'm going to do to the bottom. So for the lower lash line, I'm starting out by taking the first shade that we use, that matte brown called Sound Tower, and I'm using this on a Sedona Lace pencil brush just to wriggle it all the way down along the lower lash line, making my way from outer to inner corner, making sure that it connects up on that outer edge. Then I'm going to take up a little bit of the dark brown called Road Crew. I'm doing the same thing again, just wriggling this down along the lower lash line. This time I'm not bringing it all the way across the lash line, I'm going to stop about halfway across, but but I'm also going to just make sure that it blends in with the previous shade. And then the last shade I'm taking is called Heavy, and I'm using this on a curved brush. I love this angled brush. It just hugs the lash line nicely, so I'm tapping that black right into the lash bed. Then I'm going to take the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Eye Pencil in the shade 0. I'm placing the pencil into the waterline, and then I'm going to close my eye around the pencil, and I'm running it back and forward, and this just makes sure that I coat both the top and bottom waterline at the same time. It also stops my eyes from leaking and weeping as well, because we don't want to ruin the look at this point. But then I've just applied some lashes. These are from Eyelure, and I'm using the L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara just to blend my own lashes in with the false ones, and to also coat the lower lashes as well, and then that's it. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you found it helpful and easy to follow. If you did, please do let me know, and I'll catch you all in a video really soon.